Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a really specific, pivotal time today. We're charting that, well, chaotic but kind of brilliant creative period in seasons 7 through 10 of the Power Rangers franchise.
Yeah.
This 4-year run, it's not just fighting monsters, is it? It's about the franchise basically reinventing itself under, well, enormous pressure, right as the original Haim-Saban era was winding down.
What's so fascinating here, I think, is that this era, Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, Time Force, and then Wild Force, the anniversary one, it really reads like a narrative pressure cooker. In really rapid succession, the producers just threw everything at the wall. New continuities, new kinds of Rangers, huge shifts in setting that were essentially testing the limits of the franchise, defining what it could be right before that big sale to Disney was looming.
So our mission today is to trace those shifts. We're going from deep space exploration and these mythical swords to suddenly grounding everything in government rescue teams, then boom, time travel and corporate security forces. And wrapping it all up with this massive anniversary blowout that literally happens right as the ownership changes hands.
Let's kick off with Season 7, Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Now, this series, based on Seiju Sentai Gingamen, it brought in probably the single biggest structural change since the original cast left, didn't it? It sort of broke the mold.
Oh, completely. Lost Galaxy was really the first series to fully commit to that Super Sentai tradition. New cast, new setting, new mythology, every single year.
Right.
And that was a strategic move. It proved the franchise wasn't totally dependent on the old Zordon era continuity. It could actually sustain itself just on concept and execution.
And the setting immediately just ramped up the scale. We're not just protecting Angel Grove anymore.
Right.
We're following this space colony, Terra Venture, this huge city arc sailing through space looking for a new home. And their power source, the Quasar Sabers, drawn from a stone on some distant planet, Miranoi. It gives the whole thing this mythical feel, very different from the sci-fi tech of In Space just before it. And the stakes also shifted, profoundly. Not just property damage anymore, but, mortal consequence. This season gave us that major aha moment, the one that really changed the tone of the whole series. The first time a Ranger was actually killed off on screen.
Kendrix Morgan, the Galaxy Pink Ranger.
Yeah.
She was written out after sacrificing herself to protect Cassie, the Pink Space Ranger, and Terra Venture from Psycho Pink. But let's be clear, this wasn't just for shock value, was it? It signaled they were willing to hit these more emotional, more mature notes.
That's the key point, really. I mean, yes, actress Valerie Vernon's temporary departure for leukemia treatment obviously informed the timing, but the story they chose to tell. Kendrick's passing the powers to Karome, former evil Astronema, before eventually being restored. It proved the franchise could handle real sacrifice. Even if they kind of walked back the finality later for, thematic reasons, it definitely broadened what they could do narratively.
And that finale, it just sealed the deal with pure destruction. Pukina fuses with Deviate, becomes this, terrifying insectoid creature, and sets the crippled Terra Venture on a suicide course for the planet below. The Rangers literally have to destroy their main base, the Astro Megaship, to stop it.
And they end up settling on Miranoi, but think about it. They blew up the power chamber before, now they've blown up the Astro Megaship. This whole era of Power Rangers was kind of about creatively burning bridges, wasn't it? To make sure the next thing felt totally fresh.
Makes sense.
But after all that cosmic destruction, the logical next step, structurally anyway, probably had to be a complete reversal.
Which brings us neatly to Season 8, Lightspeed Rescue. Okay, so after blowing up the megaship in deep space, why did Saban feel the need to ground the whole operation back on Earth? In a government HQ in Mariner Bay, California, that's some serious tonal whiplash.
It feels like it, but it was probably a necessary grounding shift. This season, based on QQ Sentai Go-Go 5, just ditched the mystical teens and magic artifacts completely. The focus shifted entirely to this government-funded organization, Lightspeed. And the Rangers here, they're recruited civilians with actual relevant skills.
Yeah.
A firefighter or paramedic, a pilot. It proved the concept could work as this sort of government task force, relying more on engineering and training, not destiny.
It definitely proved the marketability of totally different core concept. But what's really brilliant and kind of risky here is the introduction of the first ever American exclusive Ranger.
The Titanium Ranger. Ryan Mitchell. He had absolutely zero counterpart in the Super Sentai source material, Go-Go 5. That was a huge creative swing. And a major budget risk, too, because it meant filming a lot of original action footage, not just using the Japanese stuff.
That's the key structural insight right there, isn't it? By bringing in the Titanium Ranger, Captain Mitchell's long-lost son, initially forced to fight for the demons, Diabolico and Queen Banshira, Saban was basically showing potential buyers like Disney, hey look, this isn't just a dubbing operation. We have the creative chops and the fan loyalty to invent our own characters, our own storylines, totally separate from the Japanese footage.
And you saw that confidence reflected in the merchandise too, right?
Yeah.
Sources list multiple video games, 3D beat-em-ups for PlayStation and N64, a 2D Game Boy platformer, even a PC activity center. It showed this grounded paramilitary idea was commercially solid.
Okay, so we take that momentum and leap forward again. Season 9, Time Force. We're back to complex science fiction, diving into this dystopian future where officers are chasing mutant criminals led by Rancid.
From the year 3000, yeah.
Back to 2001.
What's really interesting here isn't just the time travel itself, is how the plot uses that future setting to kind of comment on present-day anxieties. Early 2000s worries, especially about wealth and power.
Absolutely. The present-day Red Ranger, Wes Collins, he's a rich kid, a socialite, and his billionaire CEO father, Mr. Collins of Biolab, he doesn't rely on the government or the Time Force cops from the future. Nope. He forms his own private security team, the Silver Guardians, to fight the mutants. That's a really powerful narrative contrast.
Yeah, you've got these government agents from the future trying to uphold the law, and they're running smack into this super wealthy present-day corporation, basically taking matters into its own hands. That storyline taps right into the whole emerging debate about privatizing security, wealth disparity. It's surprisingly deep stuff for a kid's action show.
And then it gets even messier. Wes's estranged classmate, Eric Myers, gets his hands on Time Force tech, becomes the Quantum Ranger, and ends up leading the Silver Guardians. So now the heroes are kind of on opposite sides of this corporate versus public divide. It really highlights that question, who gets to wield power when security becomes something you can buy?
And, this chaos on screen, it perfectly mirrored the business chaos happening behind the scenes. This season, Time Force, was the last one Saban Entertainment distributed until, 2011. The sources mention a planned Time Force movie got canceled after Turbo. A Power Rangers movie didn't do well. The writing was kind of on the wall.
Yeah, the end of that era was so tied up in the corporate transition that the last 4 episodes of Time Force weren't even a normal broadcast finale. They bundled them together as a film-length home video called The End of Time. It's like the ultimate proof of a franchise and strategic flex.
But even with all that business pressure, they still made time for continuity, didn't they? They made sure the full Lightspeed rescue team, including Ryan, the American exclusive Titanium Ranger, came back for a big team-up with the Time Force crew.
Good point.
It just proves that the internal lore, the story built across all those rapid shifts, was becoming more and more valuable.
Which brings us to the grand finale of this whole 4-year run. Season 10, Power Rangers Wild Force. This is the big one, the milestone season, the anniversary, and the ultimate moment of corporate handover.
Exactly. This season, based on the 25th Super Sentai Anniversary series, Haikuju Sentai Gear Ranger, it's the decade marker. It swings back to a fantasy mythology setting. The team's fighting the Orgs monsters, basically born from humanity's pollution.
Right, pollution theme.
With help from Wild Zords and Princess Shayla on this floating island, the Animarium.
And it brings in that signature darker touch again, with the Lunar Wolf Ranger, Merrick Balaton. He starts off as this ancient warrior who was cursed and turned into an Org. It mirrors how the previous seasons were willing to embrace those more complex, darker backstories.
But the real seismic event, the thing that makes this season absolutely essential for understanding the franchise's business history, is the sale.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, like you said. Wild Force is the last season produced by Saban and the first produced by Disney.
Simultaneously.
The sale of Fox Family worldwide, which included Saban Entertainment, to Disney, meant the show physically moved networks. It went from the Fox Kids block to ABC's brand new Saturday morning block, ABC Kids, in the fall of 2002. It literally switched homes mid-season.
It's like the perfect corporate transition artifact, isn't it?
Yeah.
Saban kicked it off, kept the creative momentum going, and Disney inherited this product that had just spent 4 intense years proving how resilient it was narratively through new casts, government concepts, time travel, even killing off a ranger.
And what better way to cement that legacy, celebrate the end of one era right as the new one begins, than with the ultimate continuity flex, the Forever Red episode.
Oh, just a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Both fan service and historical documentation rolled into one. It brought together 10 different Red Rangers from the entire franchise history up to that point. We're talking Jason, Tommy Oliver, Leo from Lost Galaxy, Carter from Lightspeed, Andros.
Wow.
It was such a clear statement. Look, despite the resets starting with Lost Galaxy, we've built this deep, compelling, and frankly bankable shared history.
It really showed that all that structural testing, the Ranger death, the American innovation with titanium, the corporate critique in Time Force, it had created this cohesive internal universe that could actually transcend its own creative boundaries and the giant corporate takeover looming over it.
So we kind of zoom out, connect this to the bigger picture. These 4 seasons did a staggering amount. They transitioned the franchise from one long continuous story to this annual reset model.
Yeah.
They gave us the first on-screen Ranger death, debuted the first purely American Ranger, but maybe most critically, they successfully navigated the sale to one of the biggest media companies on the planet while keeping their creative vision intact.
It's an absolutely incredible snapshot of creative and commercial survival when you put it all together like that.
Which leads to this interesting question, I think. Considering those huge structural changes, the ownership shift, the need to switch to entirely new casts every single year, starting with Lost Galaxy, how remarkable is it really that the franchise was still able to pull together all of those Red Rangers for Forever Red?
Right at that moment.
Right at that exact moment, that feat, the logistics, the creative dedication needed to bridge a whole decade of complex story right as the business handover was happening. It suggests that the internal commitment to the lore, to the story itself, was way stronger than any external corporate turmoil. It's just a spectacular example of story winning out over structure.